If you're curious, you should go.
I
Take
love
the
that.
time to do your research. Like I said, event descriptions is the most important. It's the thing that people always miss. And they miss everything from the dress code to the address to where the address is, what type of party it is. Read the event description over and over again until you soaked it all in, until you've come to the conclusion that this is a play party that you'll enjoy.
Welcome to Come Talk with Amy, the podcast where sex isn't whispered about, it's talked about out loud. I'm Amy, your host and intimacy coach, here to spark raw, playful, and unfiltered conversations about relationships, desire, and everything in between. No shame, no scripts, just real talk about what really turns us on. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Come Talk with Amy. Yes, so happy that you are here and so excited for everyone to meet our guest today. We have La Organizer in the house. Welcome, La Organizer.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Okay, so before we go into all of the juicy details of play parties, the ins and the outs, can you tell people at home a little bit about yourself and how did you get into the world of play parties?
I guess it all started. I was once an attendee, before I was hosting, play parties. I went to a few, and prior to that, or at the same time, I've always been in events, a DJ, organizing club nights, concerts. Always had I guess, the bug or the affinity to organize events, entertain, that kind of thing. So from that point on, after attending a few play parties, I thought, you know what? I think I can offer a good alternative to what's already happening. Something different, something with my spin and just getting feedback and seeing some different things. And then, of course, there's lots of different fetishes and kinks and all sorts of things that people are into. So, yeah, I started hosting in New York City anyway in 2015.
Okay.
Just shy of 11 years.
Amazing. Happy
Yeah.
11 to you.
Thank you.
Awesome. How do your play parties stand out from others? Like, what do you offer that's different, would you say?
There's a few that I do, but I wanted something, how I like to describe, kind of like a salt and pepper, like
Okay.
see, just something that's diverse. That doesn't lean too salt or too pepper, like a nice
Yeah.
sprinkle, a nice mix of white, black, brown folks. So yeah, that was my thing. And at the time when I started one of my particular events, one of the most popular ones, which is called Debauche, it was all about creating something for, I'd say, more youthful. Because at the time, people used to say, and this is, again, going back to like, say, 2016, particularly with the BDSM events. And now I didn't do any BDSM events, but most people were 40, 50, 60 plus. And people wanted something more for people their age, like 20s to 30s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. Fabulous. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's break down play parties because I feel like it's definitely taboo if you've never been, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of one of those things that it's like, what happens at a play party, and how do I know if I should go?
Most people think it's going to be some type of a huge, great big orgy as soon as you walk in, but that's not what happens. It's not what happens. I mean, depending on which one you go to, if it's a smaller private thing, but for the most part, they're very social. And I mean, typically, I don't think there's many play spaces where they can have everyone playing at the same time. So usually 70% of people at one time are engaged in some type of conversation, interaction, and then maybe only 30% of the people are playing at any one time because there's just never enough beds, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if 70% of the people want to be playing or 100% of them want to be playing, I think that
Yeah.
that's great though, because that was something that I didn't know before entering the party scene. Yeah, I think that that also helps make it feel less intimidating, knowing that it is a social atmosphere, right?
Mhm.
And playing is optional. Yes.
Yes. And then with me, that's something I wanted to place heavy emphasis on because, the majority of people then want to get to know who you are before you get into any type of kinky play. So, with myself, I've always tried to use houses where possible to give that home kind of feeling and comfort.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So you mentioned consent because this is a huge
Hmm.
question. How do you ensure consent at your events for people looking to go to a party? How can they vet for themselves?
Yeah.
So can you talk about the vetting process from the organizer side, but then also a vetting process from the participant side?
Right. A lot of people have their own different ways of vetting. Typically, what we have like a simple questionnaire to get to know people and ask a few questions. Ultimately, some people are not going to like this one, but I mean, if you don't have any knowledge of someone who is, I guess, a consent violator or done something, there really isn't much you can do because, I mean, people can pretend to be whoever they want, if that makes sense. There's other things you can do with the security that you have and then just staffing around to ensure people behave themselves.
And also like with staffing, is it guardians?
People have different terms.
Okay.
Myself, I call them
Mhm.
consent advocates. Once you've been given the green light to purchase your ticket, you come to the door. We have our security that, checks for ID to ensure people are, of the legal age to come in, and then to ensure that you're not on one of our ban lists for repeated consent violations or offenses, or any of the other communities that I know that have shared their lists with me. Those things definitely do exist to prevent, certain people from coming in and causing disruptions. And then at the same time, if somebody does something wrong, you don't want to just go and ban them, because then what they'll do is they'll just go somewhere else and they'll go and do the same thing. What we want to try and do is you want to try and correct the behavior where possible. You want to try and educate.
Yeah.
It's a constant education. I mean, life itself is a constant education. So that's what we try to do. But on the rare occasion, sometimes you do get behaviors where people are just repeat offenders. They just don't care, for
Mhm.
community or the spaces they come into. So they need to be banned.
Yeah.
After you checked in, at the entrance by the security and the door person, we have the consent advocates that monitor the event to make sure that everyone's comfortable and the people are abiding by the code of conduct. So, they're constantly around and also making sure people are comfortable and help to engage in meaningful conversation. But yes, and then back to your other question.
I've had to use the consent advocates, right? I think I shared that with you at one of the parties
Hmm.
where I was just playing it cool. At the very beginning, this guy zoned in on me
Hmm.
and was like, I want to play with you. And then I was like, no, right? Like, I'm good. But we were still chatting and he was following me around the party. And then I kept on saying, oh, I have a shadow. And so I was talking to other people. It just got really creepy. And this was going on for a while to the
Right.
point where I was like, I think I just need to leave. But I didn't even feel comfortable like leaving the house because I was like, what if he follows me out? And
Right.
he had brought it up like a few times, like, do you want to talk to somebody? And I was kind of like, no, no, no. And as we were having this conversation, the guy actually came into the coat room that we were in.
Hmm.
There was no other reason for him to be in there, right?
Yeah.
So this other person who knew the space really well was like, you can go, but also it would be good to talk to somebody. And then another girl
Yes.
overheard us talking who I had met at the beginning of the party. And so she stepped in to check in with
Hmm.
me. I'm really glad that I talked to somebody. I wish I
Yes.
would have done it sooner, actually.
Hmm.
Like, that was a huge takeaway for me because they did approach this person. And even after that, he still approached me.
Right. Right.
So, like, yeah, with going with education, it definitely helped turn the tables and also just leaning on the safe people that you feel like as you are meeting people socially. That was a
Hmm.
good lesson for me to just not shrug it off. Like, because I was just like,
Yes.
like consent is consent. And if you've said no to somebody, you only have to say that once. And if they're
Hmm.
continuing to press you, then
Yes, definitely
consider
bring
just
it to
pulling
the
out.
attention. Yeah, most of the well-organized good play parties, there's someone walking around, a door person, or usually whoever the security is at the front, and then someone will or should bring it to that person's attention, pull them to the side, and have a conversation, and to see what's up.
And when he did leave, like the night turned around for me.
Hmm.
And it was also nice because the consent advocates kept on coming in and checking with me.
All right.
It really helped smooth things over. But
There you go. So that's the right thing, that they came to check in with you again to see that you were okay and that you were comfortable. Yeah, because the last thing we want is for you to leave feeling uncomfortable. We don't want that. We want you to stay and enjoy your time.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And because I had such a positive experience outside of this one person, I went
Hmm.
to the space because it's comfortable here, which I think was huge. You did awesome, like telling us how you as an organizer
Hmm.
vet people and ensure safety and consent. But how can somebody who is trying to like seek out a party, how do they do their own vetting, or what should they look for in an organizer, a space before buying that ticket?
I would say start out with the event description. And see, this is a thing that a lot of people miss, every single time, even simple things. But the event description will essentially tell you if this is the right type of event or party that you want to go to. And then hopefully you may know someone with experience or maybe someone who's been before that can maybe tell you about the host or the organizer and, how good they are at dealing with any situations that may arise involving consent, etc. Because I mean, just like everything else in the world, nobody's perfect. There's always things that happen. But what we try to do is, most of us good hosts and organizers, we try to minimize these things from happening with the education and emphasis on consent and the rules.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say, because I think this is interesting, I want to unpack it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I go to a website, what different things would stand out?
For the most part, people have an idea of what they want to experience or maybe the crowd they want to get involved in. So, like I tell you, a number one thing that used to always happen when I started out, I used to co host a really good BDSM event years ago. And people would come to this kink event thinking it was a play party where you could have sex. That's not the case. The majority of the top BDSM parties do not allow sex. So people would somehow miss this in the event description and show up to a BDSM party thinking that they can have sex. But usually, a good event description will detail everything about the event, what you may be able to expect, dress code, age, is alcohol allowed,
Right. It's so
stuff
important.
like that. Yes. So, these things can help you determine, is this something that you want to go to?
Now, I get this question a lot, and I'm curious from your experience
Hmm.
and just your own preference as far as going to an event alone versus
Hmm.
attending with somebody.
Right. Well, that's the thing. It can be very daunting going to an event alone. From my observations of, 11 years of organizing and then, geez, going to play parties, I think like 17 years. It's definitely a lot easier for men, but not easy for women because, of course, safety concerns. And then some people just don't feel comfortable telling friends if they don't think their friends are on the same page or they're going to judge that you want to go to a play party. So it really kind of leaves some people in a position. I would say if the play party or the host has some good reviews, don't be afraid to go alone, because you can make some good friends, make some new connections. And they're social events. That's essentially what they're about. You're now bringing yourself into a circle of sex positive people,
Yeah.
people who may share the same interests as you. So, it's your opportunity to build a new friend circle. It's just like if you're a car enthusiast or you're a motorcycle enthusiast, and you go to a meeting to meet people with the same interests.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely take the jump. Don't be afraid, or just ask a friend, ask somebody to come with you. And once again, most of the good and the best play parties, you're not forced to play. You
Yeah.
can just come and just be social. And some have the play areas separate from the social areas. You don't even need to go near the play area if you're not ready to see that yet. I mean,
Yeah.
I've met people that have come to my events for a year to a year and a half before they even played.
I
That was funny.
mean, we
Mhm.
love some good voyeurism here.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
so
Exactly.
yeah, if you like to watch, you can watch and enjoy to your heart's content. No reason to play if you don't want to.
Hmm.
Forever voyeurs is totally cool too. Yeah, I'm probably a rare female that likes to attend by myself.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned before, I like to know that the party or the organizer itself is vetted, right? Somebody I know is throwing the party, or I've heard about the
Yeah.
organizer for that specific event, etc.
Hmm.
That's usually my comfort level is I'm like, okay, I know that the space, right?
Hmm.
safety, right? Even if
Hmm.
you mentioned you can't know exactly everybody, even though there is the vetting process, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So for me, I want to know, okay, the organizer is a good organizer, right? I guess for me, I like to fly alone.
Hmm.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
restrained having to be social if I don't want to be, right? Like
Yeah. Hmm.
we can do that at brunch.
Hmm.
And I'm there to just, yeah, be in community and kind of meet different people.
Yeah.
But I know for a lot of women, that's not the case. Another guest I had on the show, we were talking about purity culture. It was for Kinktober. So we were
Yeah.
talking about kink as well. And one of her offerings is that she actually offers to go to a play party with someone for their first time.
Hmm.
So
That's
she
good.
can be that
Hmm.
person. And I'm like, damn, I should start offering that, you know?
Yeah.
So let me
No.
know, listeners and people at home, if you would like that offering from me, because I might just have to put it on my website.
That's a good idea. Because another thing I try to do, sometimes when people reach out to me, especially women, is you try to get them to maybe go to a social, because a lot of other base
Yes.
party groups do socials. I did do one as well, and that can help people meet and make some connections before they go. And then once a play party does come up, those people that you met at the social, you can go with to the play party. But that idea, like a chaperone type of thing, that's good. And then maybe some women's groups, because I actually had a meeting with somebody a couple of weeks ago. A friend of mine. I'd say she's a veteran. She's been going for play parties for like almost 10 years. We spoke about getting groups of women together so women can go, so that they're not going alone. And then especially if they're from different areas, maybe you have in regards to New York, 3 of you are from the Bronx, you can go home together in the Bronx. If 5 of you are from Jersey, Brooklyn, etc. And so when you're leaving, if it's late at night, you're going home all in the same direction in a group.
Hmm.
We totally need this.
Hmm.
Having a woman's internal group as far as, are you going to this play party? Oh my God, I love that. And just be
Yes.
eyes and ears for each other. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm loving that. I guess this is a two-part question. One, misconceptions about play parties, and also what do you find people are most anxious about or worried about when they are attending their first party?
Like what I mentioned in the beginning, most people feel that you have to join, or as soon as they walk in, it's just going to be some great big huge orgy pile. It's going to be unhygienic, and
Mhm.
those are, I think, some of the most typical ones I can think of. And then to give you a different spin, I guess it's how they can join or how they can get in or get invited into, what's typically called a scene. If they're
Yes.
not the type that's doesn't want to get into any plan, they want to come and just experience an Oya, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, usually that's the other one. Hmm.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so let's talk about scenes. If you want to initiate a scene versus you're walking in on a scene, like what is the etiquette?
Depending on who's you go to, it could be different. But I say a general rule of thumb, we could say enforced at most, especially with BDSM parties. BDSM parties are the most strict. If a scene is happening, you cannot just come and just invite yourself and join that scene. You need to wait for an invitation to join, and don't try and get people's attention who are already in the scene. If the scene's already started, it's too late.
Waving your hands, hey,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
jumping, like start
Yeah.
like touching people without asking.
Yes, it's too late. And, this is why it's important to socialize in the beginning and come and talk to people, see what they're into. Do they share the
Mhm.
same fetishes and kinks that you do? Because in this way, this is how you'll increase your chances of possibly getting invited into a scene, because you want to meet people that are into similar things that you are into, or maybe things that you want to try.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Hmm.
love the idea of like going to a social, whether it's a munch or like a workshop, because then, especially like for an organizer space, right? I've been to the space, but not to any of their events, but I'm very curious
Hmm.
about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I see. They
yeah,
do a lot of
for
workshops. Yeah.
example, they have a lot of social,
Hmm.
educational workshops, etc. And it's a great way to like get to know the space, get to know the people that frequent that space,
Yeah.
for example. And then it's such a great entryway to it. And I totally had that misconception. Like when I went to my first party and I knew the organizer and I knew that
Hmm.
they were a safe person, and I was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have any expectations. I definitely had misconceptions. I didn't know what I was going to walk into. I didn't know how I would feel until I was in that. And I think that you're not really going to know how you feel
Yeah.
until you are in
Mm-hmm.
that situation. But if you know you're a voyeur or an exhibitionist, like, it's fabulous.
Yes.
Are people just going to be like in the hallways having sex? Like, I literally was thinking everyone's just going to be having sex everywhere, like you mentioned. I'm just going to be like, you know, having to scoot by them and bump into them or whatever. Not the case at all, from at least for most parties, right?
Yeah, no. Especially the bigger ones, no. If it's something small that someone's put together, like an invite only, and you're typically in a smaller space, and yeah, you could be stepping over bodies and you know.
Right, exactly. Do you remember going to your first party and how you felt afterwards?
Oh yeah, I do. I definitely do.
Tell us the deets.
Okay, so my first ever play party, it was years ago. I think at the time I was 19. Yeah, I was about 19, 20. And all of my friends, they were too afraid to go. They thought I was crazy. And this is the time I was in London in the UK. And they had this nudist spa, which I think is still around. It's called Rio's.
Okay.
And what happens is during the day, it's a nudist spa. You know, they do massages and all sorts of stuff like that. And then at night, it turned into you could say a swingers club. When swingers clubs, of course, they still do exist. But I say the sex positive movement that we have now, it wasn't really a thing back then. So, how did I feel after I left? I didn't even play my first time because it was just me just soaking in the atmosphere and seeing what it was about. And it was exciting. It was an adrenaline kind of, I don't know, endorphin release. It was a fun experience to be able to watch and see all the scenes and everything else that was going on.
An education right before your eyes.
Yeah, you can say that, yeah. And then after that first time, I said, yeah, I definitely would like to go again and, you know, hopefully join in some type of a scene.
Yeah. Do you remember your first time initiating a scene?
Oh, geez, initiating.
Or negotiating a scene?
Geez, not really, because there's been so many. Yeah, I don't remember.
We're like, we're too deep in. We're too deep in at this point.
Yeah.
I should ask you about the last time. That's probably easier to remember, right?
The last time. Geez, I do them all the time for the content creators. You know, initiate all the scenes. Because that's what I've been doing more recently over play parties. I've been organizing big orgies and gangbang orgy shoots for content creators. You know, people like 20 plus. Because typically the big studios don't like to do those because they cost a lot of money, especially when you have top stars. But yeah, geez, I've done...
Are you shooting for those? When you say you're organizing, are you like...
So I'm the person that puts it together. Yeah, I get everyone together and tell everyone testing-wise what they need to do and whatever the limits, the boundaries are, what's required, all of that kind of stuff. So basically the content creators, they were able to just show up and everything is ready to go on set. They just sign the consent forms or whatever they need to do, look at IP, and then just get straight into filming.
Concierge play party or play organizing.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that.
I'll create a lot of scenes. There's just so many just going through my mind right now. I don't even know.
I love that. Well, I'm thinking of it because maybe you'll share one with us. But one of your like favorite.
Maybe not one that I created. Well, I guess I did because I organized the event, but it was a memorable one. So I'll tell you what, it was a couple of years ago now. And it was one of the event locations that I use in Bushwick. Really nice house. We have 5 levels and we also had a rooftop. In the summertime when the weather's good, we put play beds on the roof.
Ooh.
And we have the highest roof, so, you know, the other residents, they can't see. It started to rain and had the DJ equipment up there as well because you had, you know, the outdoor DJ thing and everything. And someone said to me, oh, look, it started to rain. Your DJ equipment's up there. I don't know if you want to bring it in. And I was like, oh, it's too late. And a little bit of water. We did have the canopy over it. I said, you know, the DJ equipment, it will survive. So I forgot about it. Someone else told me it's raining. So I went upstairs. I said, oh, people are probably not going to be upstairs playing anymore. And it's going to make the sheets and the bed and everything wet. Because, you know, the wind blows and it's going to get underneath the canopy. I came upstairs and to my surprise, there was still about 15 people on the bed. And then, you know, people that see this, people are going to know exactly, you know, what I'm talking about. So I came up and I was
memorable for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. Because I actually did tell the story on Instagram, but they took it down,
Okay.
their terms of service. So anyway, I stood from afar and I watched them. And one person, a woman, she said, "Hey, how is everybody with still playing even though it's raining?"
Mm-hmm.
X amount of people said, "Yeah, we're fine. I think let's do it." And then I think they went around and exchanged names, I think discussed boundaries and et cetera, et cetera. And then I'm hosting, so I didn't stay there for too long. So I let them do their thing. I went downstairs, came back up again as the rain was still coming down. And then I just saw a puddle of bodies,
That's
you
amazing.
know, just enjoying themselves, sex in the rain, you know.
A puddle of bodies amidst the puddles around them,
Yeah. And it
creating
was
their own
just,
puddle.
yeah, it was just great to see them still enjoying themselves and what I like to call, consensual orgasms in the rain.
Yes. Oh my
It was
God.
great
That
to see
sounds
that.
so hot.
Yeah. And I did approach them after that and I said, "What you guys are doing is beautiful. This is wonderful."
That's
So
amazing.
it
Oh
was
my
good.
God.
Yeah.
That's super hot.
One of my most memorable scenes.
I love that. Yeah. I know. I remember after my first play party, I told you I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel, but
Yeah.
I was exploring my edges. This was an edge that I hadn't explored yet. After the party, I couldn't stop thinking about it for like a whole month. I was like, I need to find another party.
Yeah.
And it was a while before I went to another one, but
Mhm.
oh my God, this is totally my thing. When you go, you will know whether it's for you or not for you.
Definitely. I always tell people go to a play party at least 3 times because this way you'll have an idea of whether it's for you or not. And not every party you're going to go to is going to be a great party. And that doesn't mean that someone is going to make it a bad time. There's different attendance. Sometimes it may be packed. Sometimes it may not be. Not every play party is going to be packed every single week or every single month. You may go, you may not necessarily meet people that you mesh with the first time. The second time you may, or maybe it may be the third time. And just like the other example I gave, where I know people that have come for a year and they haven't played. Maybe they haven't seen people they mesh with. So, yeah, I would say go, attend at least 3 times to see if it's for you, especially if it's one that appeals to you based on the event description.
Yeah, I love that, like the rule of thumbs.
Yeah, three strikes, whatever,
Three strikes.
Yeah, you could say 3 strikes, yeah, but that's what I say to do, yeah.
I love that. Every party is different. And I would say that I got spoiled that first party because it was also like BDSM focused, which is kind of my thing as well. Such a great entry point, too. There have been some that I've gone to that it's like, oh, if that was my first one. But there are some that I definitely enjoy more than others, and for different reasons. It's also like what's going on in your life that day too, right?
Yes, yeah, because, you definitely want to be in the mood to go, and, hopefully you are in the mood to go. Most of the time you need to get your ticket in advance and get vetted,
Yeah.
etc. So, yes, because, not everyone does a play party every week, or depending on who it is, and if it's a particular type of party, that particular party that you have the ticket for may not happen every week. Because just like you said, there's different themes, there's different dress codes, there's different fetishes, there's different groups, You have queer parties, you have gay parties, there's an abundance,
Yeah, and we're spoiled here in New York because there really is an abundance here, right? Like, I mean, I guess I don't know, but I would imagine in some other cities, it may be even more like kind of spread out as far as access.
Yeah, we get a lot of people that come in from other cities, states, because maybe what they're looking for is not available in the city or the state where they're in. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Oh, I wanted to ask because you've mentioned swingers. Can you differentiate like between swingers? Are everybody that attends a play party a swinger versus in a lifestyle, right? Can you talk about those different elements and how they converge, but also how they're separate?
Sure. So I'd say the lifestyle is kind of an umbrella term that's, I guess, age old. I say age old because I don't know how old it is. I think maybe 30 years plus. And then the true definition of a swinger is where you have two couples. Typically, I guess you could say, a man and a woman, and they will swap with another couple, generally speaking. And the true swingers clubs will not allow singles in. So
Interesting.
you
Okay.
need to be with a partner.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the true swingers clubs. Now, you do
Yeah.
have a few that make exceptions. And what they'll do is typically they won't allow single men, but they will allow
Mm-hmm.
single women.
Yeah.
Because just like I said at the beginning, it's very easy for men to typically find the courage to go to one of these types of things. So, they'll have an abundance of men that show up, and usually this is not what they want. And then, of course, we have people that say the heteronormative swinger types, unicorns, which some people don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes this is what those couples are looking for. And I know some couples that swing and they do not play with single people. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
their boundaries that they've set where they will only get involved in situations with other couples or groups of couples where they can swap.
Knowing your own boundaries and what your expectations are is huge, in going into the play scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a conversation that during the social aspect, when you're approaching someone or they're approaching you,
Yeah.
like you may just be talking about the atmosphere
Yeah.
or the weather or what's going on with the Yankees or whatever, and then like
Mm-hmm.
move into more of their interests, etc.
Yes.
And so that's a great way to start talking about your boundaries and what your interests are, what you're looking for in the evening, what are your intentions for this
Yes.
evening, right? Like that's what I hear a lot at parties.
That's a good one. Don't talk too much about work and the weather because you do that all day, every day. A little bit of that, if you want to do a
Yeah.
little icebreaker or move into it comfortably, but yeah, then definitely move into the kind of juicier bits. Like you said, what are your intentions and
Mm-hmm.
boundaries? What are you into? Yeah, yeah. And even if it's just conversation about sex, and
Mm-hmm.
kink and fetish.
And what's a good way for somebody to say no?
A clear and concise no. That's the best way. That's usually what's encouraged. We also tell people a maybe isn't a yes. Take a maybe as a no. If somebody's hesitant, also take that as a no. But, most of good play parties, in their consent speeches, they'll tell people, if you're unsure, it's a no. Just give a clear and concise no.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you want an enthusiastic yes. And I feel like in play spaces, there's a lot more communication. Yes, it's happening in a shorter amount of time,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
but it's more upfront, right?
Yes.
Which I think is so huge. We can all learn, even if we're not interested in going to play parties. I feel like there's so much to learn from a communication and boundaries standpoint.
Yeah, because like I said again at the beginning, it's a constant education. You're always going to have somebody come in that's new. People are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
It's a constant education. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm curious, has there ever been a moment going back to like things that you've experienced at play parties yourself or something that you've witnessed where you're like, this is exactly why I do this work?
I'd say it's the social aspect. It's bringing people together. I've always been a person that likes to bring people together and, look at certain people as individuals or groups and say, you know what, I think you guys would mix well with these people. I mean, even when I was a teen, I was organizing groups to go ice skating, roller skating, going to the movies. It was just a thing that I enjoyed doing. So, yeah, it's just great being able to do this in this community.
Yeah, you're a national organizer.
Yeah, because especially coming out of the club scene, which I was in before, and ultimately when people go to clubs or bars, what are they trying to do? They're trying to hook up with people. And I feel the sex positive spaces are better, they're safer, and it just makes more sense. And then for the most part, people aren't slut shaming or sex shaming. We'll be lying if we said it absolutely doesn't happen. But, once again, we try and minimize,
Yeah, absolutely. And also the alcohol/drug situation is much less than what you're going to find going out to like any normal pub or bar or club, to be honest.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's more regulated.
Okay.
Regulated. I mean, typically, depending on where you are, you do have your rules. So, I mean, most of your play parties in New York will be BYOB because we can't have nudity and have a licensed venue that sells alcohol. I mean, typically they could, the majority of people drink or do some type of substance. This is from my observation of 10 years of going. And, if you look behind any bar, any play party, you will see a ton of bottles. I'd say for the most part, instances of people being drunk and getting out of hand are a lot less than the club scene, And I mean, I've been in clubs in so many different countries. We've seen what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say there's far less incidents than your average club night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are listening in and we have piqued their curiosity, but they're still a little hesitant, like if you're meeting somebody who's curious about the party scene, what is usually kind of that conversation as far as helping them decide or determine to take the jump?
If you're curious, you should go. You should definitely go. Take the time to do your research. Like I said, event descriptions is the most important. It's the thing that people always miss. And they miss everything from the dress code to the address, to where the address is, what type of party it is, So read the event description over and over again until you soaked it all in, until you've come to the conclusion that this is a play party that you'll enjoy. And in this way, when you do make that jump to attend, you won't be disappointed. Well, hopefully you won't be disappointed, because you chose a party which event description fits something that is right up your alley.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Yeah. And if you can, Reddit, you can look, you can sometimes see reviews of parties, to get some background on the host, the people that host them, all of that stuff.
I love how you started it. If you're curious, you should go.
Yeah.
And I would totally agree with that. I mean, vet the party, find your vibe. Like, if you are curious, the only way you're going to know if it's for you is in the scene.
That's it. Because you only live once. And I'll tell you something. Number one thing I hear a lot, especially when I first started, people more senior to me saying, you know what, I started this late. I wish I started when you did. Every now and again, when I see these late bloomers coming in later, they say the same thing. I wish I did this 20 years ago,
I know. You were talking about your time in London. And when we first met, we had a crossover during our time in London. I did my master's there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish I knew you back then. Or brought me into the party scene. Of course, I was this very Mormon girl who was not having sex. So it would have been a huge leap. My now self wishes that I would have met you back then. And I think the party scene in London would have been just such a time. Do you have a favorite city for parties?
A favorite city for parties? Honestly, most of the parties I've been to and hosted have been in New York. I've been to a few others in a few other countries, but I'd say not enough. But been to some good ones, and especially when the weather's nice. If you're somewhere with palm trees, it just adds to it,
I have to say, I worked for the World Health Organization. I started working there for COVID, and then I was there with the Mpox, monkeypox, can you call it, outbreak that started in Europe, and I was working with the European region. And so I was the mass gathering consultant. So I literally, this was literally my job that I got paid for, but I was tracking all of these large, events. And because at the time, a major population that was being affected was men who were having sex with men. Yes. So it's the summer of 2022, and I'm basically tracking the party scene, specifically with men who have sex with men. So I can tell you some of the countries, like Germany, whoa, their websites, I'm like, oh my God.
But Germany has a very unique scene. I haven't had the opportunity. The times I was in Germany, I was DJing, and that was a difficult thing because when I'm DJing, it's a nighttime activity. So, I was never able to go. But yeah, Germany is one of the best scenes. Berlin, what I'm hearing, the kinkiest.
And I would say Greece seems like a really fun one too. All right. I'm a huge whore for aftercare. So what would you say are some of the best ways for people to aftercare and during parties, but also for themselves after the party?
It's very important. I always include that when I do my consent orientation, I talk about aftercare, They'll just get up and leave. And then most of the other good communities as well, they also do the same thing. Once you finish that kinky BDSM scene or that orgasmic sex scene, don't just get up and go. Some people don't need aftercare, but for the most part, the majority do. So, find a space or in your same space and cuddle, snuggle up, ask how the scene was. Definitely, aftercare is very, very important.
So huge. Yeah. I'm like, I need aftercare. Like, aftercare is a must for me, unless like we go in and we know that this is a fast fuck and we have things to do and we need to get out of here. But otherwise, even if it's just 5 minutes, I need that. And a lot of the times too, especially if it is a BDSM type of situation or maybe multiple partners, I would say like that's extra energy is exerted. And I love when somebody asks me like, can I get you some water? Or I love doing that for other people too. It's such a great way to care. In addition to the cuddles or the massages, etc.
Yes. And actually, that's one thing I will say. Get to know or understand the difference between a BDSM/kink party and a sex party, which sometimes people also call sex parties play parties. There's a lot of people, as I said at the beginning, they'll show up to BDSM parties thinking they can have sex. And most of the BDSM parties do not allow sex. Unless you're in Germany. Germany is a little different.
Sky's the limit in Germany. Yeah, and a lot of BDSM, there's exploration of a scene as in not necessarily sex, right? But like electric play, fire play, bondage.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. And there can be some play parties that are kink focused where you can experience that without the sex, but also play and bring that in as well.
Yeah. So, most play parties will tolerate some elements of BDSM. Usually the most popular is impact play.
Yeah.
That's usually one of the most popular. And then, on occasions you will see some people doing rope shibari. But of course you do need space for that. And, not everyone may have the space to accommodate suspension, where you see people hanging. But rope, usually rope and impact play, sometimes electro play on a massage table, fire play, if the venue allows. Yeah.
Yes. Again, read your descriptions, everyone, okay?
Yes.
Read the event description. It is all there. And then there's always usually a contact information or a contact for the party organizer, but read those descriptions. The organizer, this has been fabulous. Before we leave, we'd love to come to completion here at Come Talk with Amy. It is AKA a rapid fire round. Are you ready to come to completion?
I'm ready to come to completion, yes.
All right. Okay. Eyes or hands? Voyeurism versus exhibitionism.
I'm a big voyeur now. I used to be a big exhibitionist when I first started, but I guess from hosting, I've switched into being a voyeur. And 99% of the time, I don't play. I'm hosting from all the way through. See a voyeur.
Right. Busy. Yeah. On the BDSM quiz, my top was voyeurism. I was not surprised by that at all. I was like, check. Exhibitionism was also up there. So I'm a yes and a yes. Okay. Being chosen or choosing? Would you like to initiate the scene or be approached?
Being approached is always nice. That doesn't happen too often, being a man in these types of spaces. But I say usually I would be the one to initiate. If I feel there's chemistry and an indication of interest, then initiate.
Love that. Okay. Slow burn or sudden spark?
Let me say slow burn. Getting to know the individual or whoever it is and, just taking the time to get to know them before things kind of flow is always good.
Blindfolds after you get to know them, not before. Okay, I see. Anticipation or aftermath?
I say anticipation.
Okay. We love a good foreplay. Control or surrender?
And that's myself? Control. I'm definitely a pleasure top, so yeah.
Very nice. One connection or many micro moments?
I think the micro moments.
Okay. Few more questions. Quiet confidence or bold presence?
Me, I'm a chill, quiet confidence type.
Yes. Yeah. I can see that for sure. Most overrated assumption about sex or intimacy?
That it always ends in an orgasm.
Yes.
Yeah. That's one.
Pleasure is so important.
Because the pleasure would last. You can make it last.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. We love pleasure. Okay. One thing that instantly cools the vibe.
What instantly cools the vibe? I would say familiarity. You know, if people take time to get familiar with who they're about to be involved in, definitely. Because, you know, when you don't know people, you don't know, things can be kind of daunting and, you know, so yeah.
I love that. Okay. And then if you can please finish this sentence, consent is.
Essential.
Ooh, yes. Mic drop.
Mhm.
Damn. Consent is essential.
Yeah.
So hot. So fucking hot. Organizer, thank you so much for coming here on To Come Talk with Amy and
Pleasure.
sharing
And
all
thank you
the
for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming. And now that we've come to completion, before we completely sign off, where can our listeners at home find you?
So I would say, for the most part, you can find me on Instagram, instagram.com/LaOrganizer. I tell you what, I'm actually on every single platform as LaOrganizer. So that includes FetLife, you name it. So you usually LE, or if I couldn't do that, there'll be an underscore in Organizer. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. And I haven't been doing any play parties recently because I've been busy doing other stuff. But I'm going to be back this year because I'm trying to do some things that I wanted to do last year so we can be on the beach and palm trees. So,
Ooh, hello. Sign me up.
Mhm.
and some local stuff too. But, you know, I'm a one-man band, so I can't do everything at once, you know?
Mhm.
And I appreciate my team as well. So, yeah.
Well, this has been fucking fabulous. And for our listeners at home, please tell us your favorite thing about play parties is, if you have been. If not, what did we pique your interest in? And what play party are you going to? What play party did you buy tickets to while you were listening to this? And what did the description have to say? Little Organizer, thank you again for being here. We love everyone listening at home. As always, remember to masturbate, lubricate, and get ate. And thank you for coming. Please come again, and come again.
Definitely.
That's all for today, lover. Remember to masturbate, lubricate, and get ate. If you liked this episode, share with a friend, like, subscribe, and as always, thank you for coming. Please come again, and come again.